You know that feeling when you hear about a place that just screams wild, untouched nature?
Oh, yeah, like the Pacific Northwest coast. It definitely has that vibe.
Totally. And smack dab in the middle of that is Olympic National Park. I mean, talk about contrasts. Huge mountains, incredible rainforests.
It really is an amazing mix of ecosystems, isn't it? All shaped by geology and, well, a whole lot of rain.
Exactly. And today, we're going to zoom in on one particular spot there, Rialto Beach.
Rialto. It's more than just sand and waves, though. It's kind of a unique window into that whole Olympic coast experience.
That's what we thought too. We've been digging through the National Park Service info, kind of trying to pull out the essentials.
Right, so this is a deep dive for anyone thinking of visiting, or honestly, just anyone curious about what makes Rialto Beach tick.
Yeah, just a brief, engaging look at it, what it's like, a bit of its story, the cool bits.
We really want to give people a feel for why this bit of coast is so, well, compelling.
Okay, so first things first, practical stuff. If you're thinking about staying over, Moore Campground is nearby.
Yeah, super close, just about 2 miles from the beach itself. Makes it really convenient.
So does that closeness kind of push people towards staying longer, you think? Rather than just a quick day trip?
I'd say so. Based on the NPS stuff, having that campground right there definitely encourages people to settle in for a bit.
Makes sense. Explore Rialto, maybe some other spots along the coast nearby.
Exactly. It gives you a good base camp to really soak it all in over a few days.
Now here's something interesting, especially for dog owners. Rialto Beach. It has a pet-friendly section. That seems unusual for a national park.
It is, yeah. You can bring your dog. On a leash, of course, needs to be 6 feet or shorter, but only for the first half mile.
Up to Ellen Creek, right?
That's the boundary. Up to Ellen Creek. It's this kind of specific allowance acknowledging people want their pets with them.
But it's pretty limited compared to the rest of the park.
Oh, definitely. Pets are generally a no-go on other trails, in the wilderness areas, inside buildings. Standard park rules apply. Always leashed, clean up after them, you know the drill.
Right. So a little slice of beach heaven for you and your pup, but you gotta stick to that zone.
Precisely. Respect those boundaries.
Okay, let's talk about the beach itself, the Olympic coast. It feels powerful, right? Weather beaten is a good word for it.
Absolutely. And Rialto is a prime example. The tides there are a huge factor. You have to plan around them.
The Park Service info really stresses that, doesn't it? Checking tide charts.
Heavily. Because getting around can become really tough, sometimes impossible, if the surf's high or it's pouring rain.
So winging it isn't really the best idea.
Definitely not. Need to know what the water's doing.
And speaking of water, hydration's obviously important. But there's a warning about drinking from streams there.
Yes, super important point. Those coastal streams and rivers might look clean, but they can carry stuff like cryptosporidium and giardia.
Nasty little microscopic things you don't want.
Exactly. So the rule is, filter or boil any water you collect. No exceptions.
Good to know. And isn't there something about salt water too?
Yeah, another thing to watch for some streams can get saltwater intrusion during high tide. So what you collect might be brackish or salty. That's another challenge.
Okay, so water safety is key. And if you're doing more than a day trip, like backpacking along the coast, food storage is a big deal too.
That's right. Bear canisters are mandatory, required for all your food, your trash, even things like toothpaste or deodorant, anything scented.
Makes sense. Keeps bears from getting interested in campers.
Exactly. It's about protecting people and protecting the wildlife, keeping them wild.
Okay, that gives us a good baseline for the now. Let's rewind a bit. How did Rialto Beach even come to be? What's the deeper story?
Well, the geology is pretty epic, honestly. You have to go back millions of years.
Millions, wow.
Yeah, like 15, maybe 20 million years ago. The rocks that make up the Olympic Mountains now, they're actually sediments on the ocean floor. Mud, sand, even lava flows.
So this whole area was underwater.
It was. And then these immense geological forces basically pushed everything upwards, uplifting that seafloor to create the mountains.
Incredible. And those rocks must be pretty tough then.
They are. Over time, all that pressure turned the mud and sand into things like slate and hardened sandstone. That's a lot of the rock you find inland.
Okay, so uplift formed the main mountains. What about the coast itself? Glaciers involved?
Oh, definitely. More recently, geologically speaking, within the last million years or so, huge glaciers covered the area.
Like ice sheets?
Yeah, massive ones. They acted like giant bulldozers and sculptors, carving out valleys, and they carried stuff with them, like big granite boulders from way up north.
And just drop them.
Pretty much. You might see some of these erratics, these out-of-place looking boulders sitting on the coast today, leftovers from the Ice Age.
Wow, so the glaciers really shape the details. When do they leave?
The last major ice retreat was around 11,000 years ago, which sounds like a long time, but geologically it's pretty recent.
Yeah, blink of an eye, really.
And since then, you've had the sea levels stabilize, the rivers flowing, the waves crashing. Basically, the coastal environment we see at Rialto today started taking shape.
Amazing connection between deep time and what you see right now. Okay, let's shift back to the present. What are some of the things that make Rialto Beach really stand out for a visitor? Highlights, cool facts.
Well, one of the most striking things is how close it is to the forest. You're right there on the edge of this huge coastal forest.
Like rainforest right up to the sand.
Pretty much. It's part of that massive evergreen forest ecosystem the Pacific Northwest is famous for. Think western hemlock, western red cedar, big, impressive trees.
You can almost smell the damp earth and the salty air mixing, and this whole area gets a ton of rain, right?
Yeah.
It's near the Hoh and Quinault rainforest.
Exactly. Places like Quinault average something like, 128 inches of rain a year? And potentially way more up in the mountains.
A lot of water.
It is. And all that moisture directly feeds the vegetation right down to the coast at Rialto. It creates this incredibly lush green edge against the beach. It's a really unique look.
A beach and rainforest combo platter.
Sort of, yeah. That convergence is pretty special.
And with all that forest and coast, what about wildlife? What might people see?
There's definitely potential. The wider Olympic coast is home to some big mammals. You could get lucky and spot Roosevelt elk near the tree line.
Oh, wow. Bears, too.
Black bears, yeah, they forage along the coast sometimes. And river otters are often seen playing in the waves or near the river mouths.
Fun. What about smaller stuff?
Oh, tons. The famous banana slugs, of course. Different kinds of snails, maybe some snakes. And loads of birds, seabirds, shorebirds, forest birds near the edge. It's a very alive place.
It sounds like it. Not just pretty scenery, but a whole functioning ecosystem.
Totally. And it's interesting to contrast that coastal zone with the rest of Olympic National Park.
How so? Different from the mountains.
Completely different. As you go up in elevation into the Olympics, the plant life changes dramatically. It's almost like traveling north towards the Arctic, botanically speaking.
So you get these distinct life zones packed into one park.
Exactly. Which really makes that coastal strip, including Rialto, feel unique within the park's overall biodiversity.
That's a great point. It really emphasizes how special Rialto is. Okay, so if we're wrapping this up, what are the main things people should take away about Rialto Beach?
I'd say first, remember that limited pet access kind of unique. Second, the absolute need for kite awareness and water safety. Can't stress that enough.
Right. Planning is key.
And third, appreciate its location right next to those amazing coastal forests, shaped by all that rain and deep geological history. It's just a raw, powerful place.
It really sounds like it. A place where you can really feel the forces of nature, the forest, the ocean, the weather.
Definitely. For anyone wanting to connect with that wild Pacific Northwest energy, Rialto's a fantastic spot.
Seems like an essential stop if you're exploring Olympic National Park.
I would certainly say so. It leaves an impression.
Okay, so here's something to maybe chew on after listening. Think about that constant back and forth between the land and the sea at Rialto.
The tides coming in and out, the storms.
Exactly. How does that relentless interaction actually shape everything? Not just the rocks and the sand, but the plants, the animals, the whole feeling of the place.
Yeah. It's a constant process of change.
Maybe, check out a tide chart online, read a little about coastal ecology. It might make you see a place like Rialto Beach in a whole new light next time you imagine it or if you get to visit.
That constant dynamism is really what defines it.